Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Jacq, and today's practice is inspired by my own tight hamstrings. This is a great one for runners, if you spend a lot of time moving around outside, walking, hiking, or, for me, after I've had both of my babies, my hamstrings have been so tight. So whatever brings you here to this practice, welcome. We're gonna open up the legs and work into a shape called Hanumanasana. And this posture is named after one of the great gods in this tradition where yoga comes from. And the stories about this god are really about believing in ourselves. And there's one story where he takes this great leap. And so the pose is a big stretch for the hamstring, is gonna be taking a great leap, okay? So if you're interested in learning more about these stories, comment below and I'll be happy to share. But I always want to honor the roots of where this practice comes from. So thank you, Hanuman. Here we go into our practice. Let's have 2 blocks nearby and we'll start on our backs today. Welcome yourself onto your mat. You made it. You made it to the most important meeting of your day. Stretch out your body, arms overhead. Take a big breath into your belly and then let it empty out. Let's take the right knee into the chest, give it a hug, give it a squeeze. Fingers can lace around the shins. Hug your knee close to your armpit or close to your side ribs. Move it around a little bit. And then take a twist. Let your right knee fall over to the left side of your mat. Your right arm can open to the right. Maybe you look over toward your right hand. And let's bring our awareness into our breath. See if you can begin to turn on your victorious breathing, or Ujjayi pranayama, breathing in and out through your nose. As you roll onto your back again, let's take a figure 4. So your right ankle comes across your left thigh. Hug your left leg in toward you. You can lace your hands around your left hamstring or your left shin, but please keep your head and your shoulders on the ground. Letting your breath be a clearing for your mind. These stories that really influence the postures that we practice on the mat remind us to come back to believing in ourselves. Let's take the left foot down to the ground, right leg straight up to the sky. And it might not be straight. I definitely have a little bend in my knee, but push your right heel up to the sky as much as you can. Take your arms up to the sky. Take a full breath in, and then as you breathe out, reach your fingertips straight up. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders off the mat. Exhale, and then inhale, come back down. Let's take an inhale, come back down on the mat. You're already down. And then exhale, come back up. So inhale to come down. Exhale to come up. A little crunch one more time. Inhale to come down. Exhale to come up. This time, can you stay? Can you grab your leg anywhere? Draw your knee toward your chest. And then exhale, lay your head, neck, shoulders down. Lengthen your right leg down onto the mat. Draw the left knee into the chest. Let's come back to breathing smooth. As you move your right knee around in space a little bit, keep your right leg anchored. So right foot is flexed. And then twist, left knee will come to the right side of the mat. Left arm can open. You can look over that way. In and out through the nose with your breath. Getting a little rinse here, feeling the spine nice and long. We'll roll onto our back, find a figure 4. Drawing the right leg close to the body like you're hugging it in. Left ankle is on top of right thigh. So we do want the breath to be deep, but we don't want it to feel forced. So if you're taking in breath that feels so big that you begin to kind of like feel choppy with your breathing, then slow it down a little bit. A little less deep. Take your left foot to the ground, right foot to the ground, left foot to the sky. Right foot is on the ground, left leg stretches up. Flex your left foot so the left heel is what's reaching up. I'm already feeling my hamstring turn on and wake up. Take an inhale, arms reach straight up, and then 3 or 4 crunches on your exhale, reach up. Inhale, come down. Exhale, reach up. Inhale, come down. Head, neck, and shoulders lifts. Let's go for one more. But imagine your sternum was stretching up to the sky. Awesome. Come back up. Take your hands anywhere along your leg, or you could have a strap around the foot. Hold your body, but not your breath. And then come on down. Lengthen your left leg long on your mat. Lengthen your right leg long. One more big full body stretch. Breathe in. Breathe out the mouth this time. Draw your knees in toward you. Rock forward and back along the length of your spine, unless this doesn't feel good. If you have anything going on with your back, this might not feel so good, but otherwise rock to get some energy going on. Maybe it feels like a little massage for your body. And guess what? We're meeting in a boat pose. So rock on up. Maybe you can find your balance. If you weren't rocking, let's meet here. Feet are flexed. Hands to the hamstrings, and then use hands to hamstrings to help you lift your chest up. Remember, sternum to the sky. If this is too much today, bring your heels to the ground. Still tip back a little bit. Lift the chest. Let the low belly hug up and in. Low belly hugs up and in, regardless of which variation of the posture you're taking. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. One more time. We got this. In through the nose and out through the nose. Rock forward, cross your shins. Let's meet on hands and knees. Give yourself a good stack so your shoulders are over the crease of your wrists, hips over your knees. Inhale, belly drops. Look forward. Exhale, round your spine. Cat and cow. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward. Cow pose. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Exhale, cat pose. Draw the tailbone underneath you, chin into throat. Let's go one more time with your breath in and your breath out. Walk your hands forward slightly, tuck your toes. Let's come right into downward facing dog. Great hamstring stretch right away. Bend one knee and drop the other heel. And do the other side. And then do that a few times, waking up into the backs of the legs. Opposite heel drops, other knee bends. And then come into your downward dog by doing this. Listen closely. Come high onto the balls of your feet. Bend your knees and then lift your tush higher. So your sit bones go higher up toward the sky. So your belly is actually a little closer to your thighs, and then see how much you can lower your heels. Your heels do not have to touch in downward dog. Lift the sit bones high, move the shoulders away from the ears. Full breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Let's take the right leg high to the sky. See if you can let the right toes point straight down to the ground so they're not reaching up. They're not turning out. And then right knee to your nose. Let the low belly lift. Step your right foot between your thumbs. Take a twist, right arm to the sky. And then right arm overhead. Lean it back just a little bit, opening from the belly button to the sternum to the throat. Take your right hand down to the ground. Drop your back knee. Lift your arms up. Lift your chest up. Release your shoulders. Keep your back toes tucked today. So you've got a nice support with the back foot. Lunge forward through your front knee and then lift the low belly a little bit. So you take just a baby back bend. Stretching into the front of the left hip. Can you feel that there? Take one more big breath in, reaching up and a little bit back. And then drop your hands down to the ground. Shift your hips back for half split pose. Flex your front foot. Again, your front leg does not have to be straight, and this is an excellent place to take your blocks. Let's rock forward and back a few times. So inhale, step into the right foot, lift the arms and chest. And then exhale, hands to blocks or ground, shift your hips back. Twice more with your breath. This time, stay here in your half split. You might want to walk your right heel forward a little bit. That feels more stable in my body. Take a halfway lift, inhale. And then we'll bow again, think forward and down. Forward and down. Drop your head, release your jaw. Now as you take your smooth rounds of breath here, focus on breathing into the back of your waist. Puff up right near the kidneys, into the sides of the waist. And then lift your head, lift your chest, lunge forward again. Let's step left foot next to right. Standing forward fold at the top of your mat. You could take your blocks with you. Widen your feet a little bit. Find a little sway. Sway the torso, sway the head, the arms. Press your palms into your shins, halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, bow and fold. Inhale, flat back, rise all the way up to stand. Walk your feet back underneath your hips. If you widen them, hands to your heart, breathe out. Drop your arms by your sides, mountain pose, Tadasana. Feel the pads of your toes, the lift of the arches of your feet, the lift of the kneecaps, the drop of the tailbone, and the widening across the collarbones. Inhale for chair pose. Sit your seat back. Feel the low belly lift up and in. Even feel the pelvic floor lift a little bit. Just directing your energy up, up, up. This is an energizing practice. I forgot to mention that. Take your arms behind you. Lift your heels. Let's come into a diver's pose. Tip your chest forward. You can lengthen your legs any amount. Maybe they go straight or you keep the bend, but spine long. So imagine I could rest my teacup on your back. Squeeze the shoulder blades a little bit. And then back to chair pose. Lower your heels. Stretch your arms alongside your ears. Forward fold. Breathe out to bow. Drop your head. Lift your hamstrings. Feel that. Step your right foot to the back of your mat. Downward facing dog is your exhale. Come back to breath and movement. Inhale for plank pose. You could always lower your knees. And then everybody lower your knees, lower your chest, your chin. I almost said lower your cheese. And then drop your pelvis, lift your chest. Child's pose, breathe out. Take a full breath in. Breath out the mouth, how does that sound? Inhale through hands and knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. It's so funny. The mind can be thinking one thing, but the mouth could say another. Left leg high, breathe in. And then breathe out, stay here. Make sure your left toes point down to the ground. So you're keeping your pelvis even. Inner left thigh is what's lifting back behind you. Left knee to nose. Step your left foot forward between your thumbs. Let the back knee drop. Left arm reaches to the sky, find a twist. You can keep the back knee on the ground or lift it. And then find your breath. Take your left arm over your left ear, lean back a little bit. So feel yourself open from the left hip crease where the thigh bone plugs into the pelvis all the way up to the throat. Take the left hand down to the ground, drop the back knee, keep your toes tucked, and then reach your chest and your arms up. Let yourself settle in. Dropping through the tailbone, really opening the front of the right hip. You might lift your gaze a little bit to invite more of a back bend, but be cautious of crunching in the low back. We do not want that to happen. Instead, imagine the back of your heart lifts the front of your heart. Relax your face, relax your jaw. And then let your hands come down to the ground. Shift your hips back, half split pose. Maybe you get your blocks. Flex your front toes. Front leg is long, but doesn't have to be straight. And then inhale, lift up and forward again. And then exhale, shift down and back. A few more times. Breathe in. And breathe out. Let's go one more time to lift. And then we'll exhale, shift back and pause. Front toes flex. Take a halfway lift. Adjust anything as needed. Maybe front heel squeaks forward. Breathe out, think forward and down as you bow. Keep plugging your left thigh bone into the hip socket. So your outer left hip draws slightly back behind you. Rebend your front knee. Safely step into your left foot, and then right foot steps forward, standing forward fold, top of your mat. This time, palms to shins, halfway lift. Breathe out, take a fold and bow. We'll do that again. So inhale, halfway lift, really telescope the spine forward, shoulders out of ears, and then exhale, take a bow. Flat back to rise, all the way up to stand, arms above, high prayer, prayer to heart, breathe out. Palms land facing forward, arms by your sides, Tadasana, breathe in. Breathe out, feel mountain pose, standing nice and tall, pressing down through the feet, lifting up through the back of the skull. You can walk your feet a little closer together or keep them hip width for Utkatasana chair pose. Sit back and down. Feel the front body gather up and in, even the front ribs hug together. And imagine your fingertips and your sit bones were reaching in two opposite directions. Sweep your arms down and then by your sides, diver's pose. Tip the chest forward, lifting through the heels. Feel the outer hips root back behind you. This time, interlace your fingers if your hands connect. And then softly lower your heels. Take a bow here, stretching into the shoulders. Turn your head a little bit from side to side, being really mindful of your movements. And then release your hands back and then down. Step your left foot to the back of your mat. Downward facing dog, breathe out. Let's move through one more vinyasa. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, you could lower the knees or not, come all the way down to the mat. Inhale, cobra pose. Press the tops of your feet down. As you lengthen the tailbone, draw the heart forward as if the hands were energetically dragging back on the mat. Pin the elbows. Child's pose, breathe out. Hips to heels, knees wide. Full breath in. Open mouth, exhale. Inhale through hands and knees and exhale. Downward diggity dog. Take it back. Take your right leg high as you inhale, and then please bend your right knee, heel toward your butt. This time feel the hips open, but can you keep the hands evenly pressing so the left hand does not get heavier than the right. Take another breath here. You're just stretching open wide. And then slowly, knee to nose. Step your right foot forward between your thumbs. Let the back knee lower. This time, untuck your back toes. Take your arms straight up to the sky. Lunge forward through your inner right knee. Take right hand to left wrist and lean toward your right side bend. Take your hands back down to the ground and find a block, or two if you have two. You can stay in your half split pose, shifting your hips back, or if you have further to go today, take your hands to your blocks to start. Walk your right foot forward, and then start to inch your back foot back. Notice how I'm using my blocks to support my hands as I move a little forward, a little back, setting up for Hanumanasana or full split pose. So I told you this was inspired by my tight hamstrings. So I'm not touching the ground with my pelvis. I have a lot of weight in my hands, that's all good. You could also take a block underneath your right glute for a little extra support there. You could use a blanket or a bolster, of course, too, and then see if you can lift up through the chest. Now, what's particular about this pose, this asana, is that your outer left hip is still aiming to wrap forward. So it's different than a split that we might see in some dance practices. We're aiming for our pelvis to stay even here. So left hip keeps wrapping forward. And if you're sticking with your half split, stick with your breath. If you're sticking with your full split, definitely stick with your breath. And if you're somewhere in between, excellent. Take one more breath in and one more breath out. Very important as we come out of this pose. So listen closely. If your hands are touching the ground, great. If your hands are touching the blocks, great. Press weight into your hands. Press down a lot so you can safely scoot your front foot in, and then you can walk your back knee forward by tucking the toes a little bit. Nothing fancy here, folks. Downward facing dog. Breathe out. This time stay here. Full breath in. Full breath out. Let's get out of the mind. Take one more full inhale. Get back into the body. Breathing out. Step your left foot forward to the top of your mat. Drop your back knee down to the ground. Untuck your toes this time. Lift your chest up. This is called Anjaneyasana, inspired by the same deity I talked about earlier. How's your breathing? Take hold of your right wrist with your left hand and lean toward your left. Keep pressing through your front foot. Notice if anything wants to lift. Keep pressing through the top of your back foot too. Take one more breath into your right lung. And then sweep your hands back down to the top of the mat. Half split pose. Find your blocks if you have them. Relax your jaw. Move shoulders out of ears. Stay here, or if you want to go further, come back into your lunge, lean your hands into your blocks or the ground and start to tiptoe your front foot forward. And then you could tuck your back toes to move your back foot back. Walk your hands back or your blocks back to line them up near your hips, maybe outside the hips, maybe slightly forward, and then keep wrapping your outer right hip forward. Make sure your right knee feels okay. Make sure your breath is present. Remembering you could wedge a block underneath the left hamstring or the left glute, sit bone. Let's take 2 more breaths. Very cautious exit. So moving mindfully, lean weight into the hands enough that you can lift the butt, drag the front foot in, tuck the back toes, walk the back knee in. Set your blocks off to the side, downward facing dog, breathe out. Stay here, full breath in, long through your arms but shoulders out of ears, full breath out. Take your right knee toward your right wrist. We're setting up for pigeon pose. You can swing your right toes to point to the other long side of the mat. As you slowly lower yourself down, similar prop usage here. You could take a block underneath your right glute or a blanket if you feel like your hips are lifting. And then before you just collapse down, come down on an exhale and imagine you're moving forward and down. So the spine stays long, forward and down. You could bring your elbows to your block. Maybe you come all the way down, stacking the palms and resting the forehead on the stacked hands. So we'll stay for 3 more breaths. If you're not comfortable, get comfortable. If this is like never gonna be comfortable for you, which is true for some bodies, come onto your back into a reclined figure 4. Remember that pose that we started with? Very similar actions happening. And where's one more place you can release? And then start to lift your head, lift your heart. And we're not coming back into down dog. Shift your block out of the way if you had it. Shift the weight onto the right glute. Swing your left leg forward. And then step it all the way outside your right thigh. We're coming into a twist. So make sure you're sitting even on both of your sit bones. You might need to scoot to your right a little bit. Take your left fingertips behind you, right arm to the sky. Big reach up, breathe in. Breathe out to twist. You can hug your front knee, shin, or maybe hook the elbow outside the thigh, but just make sure you can still lift up through the sternum, broaden through the collarbones, and drop through the shoulders. Maybe you can look over your back shoulder. Take one more full inhale. Complete exhale. Untwist, face forward. Let's switch legs for pigeon pose. So shift the weight onto the left butt. Did you know you had 2 butts? Left butt, right butt. Right leg behind you, left shin forward. It's like a fancy breakdancing move. But let's bring a little more awareness to setting this up. So take a look at your back leg. Tuck the toes, lift the knee. Imagine you could lengthen the leg further behind you. And then as you untuck the toes and place the top of the foot on the mat, just make sure your toes are pointing straight back behind you. Let's find a little lift first, maybe coming up onto the fingertips. Take a big breath in. And then breathe out, think forward and down to let yourself fold into Kapotasana, pigeon pose. You can drop your head. Release your jaw. And let yourself be. Make sure you're utilizing your props so you give your body a chance to release. And these moments of release are really where the magic happens. When we learn to trust ourselves again, believe in ourselves. Let your next natural exhale empty all the way out. And then start to lift yourself up, coming up with a tall spine. Shift the weight onto the left butt again. Swing your right leg all the way around. Right foot steps outside the left thigh. Scoot your hips to the left a little bit so you can sit evenly through your sit bones. Tent your right fingers behind you. Left arm to the sky. Inhale. Twist your right. Exhale. You can hug the front knee. Hook the elbow if that works better for your body. Lift through the top of your noggin, top of the skull. Lift through the sternum, but drop through the shoulders. Maybe you gaze all the way over your back shoulder. And then let yourself untwist. Let's take hands behind, feet to the ground, altar pose to kind of counter a lot of the work we did today. So open the front body, lift the pelvis up. If the neck feels okay, you can let the head fall back. Let's stay here 2 breaths. Take one more big inhale, and then big open mouth exhale. Sink your seat down to the ground. Take any props that will help support your restful pose. I'm gonna take my 2 blocks right behind the knees today for Shavasana. And if you wear glasses like me, go ahead and take them off. Set them to the side. And why? Why do we do that? It's just another signal to the body that it's time to relax. So a lot of us, myself included, have a hard time shutting off, have a hard time relaxing, which is kind of silly. But it's like when you get into bed at night and the mind won't shut off. So give your body as many signals as you can that it's time to relax. Have enough space between the feet that the toes can kind of flop out so the leg muscles are totally relaxed. You can have arms by your sides with palms facing open, or hands to belly if that feels a little more grounding for you. And then all together, let's take the biggest breath of the day so far. Full breath in. Big breath out. Shavasana. So important to let our bodies rest. If you have more time, or if you can make more time, let yourself rest for a few moments longer. Feel free to just listen for the rest of this video. And if you need to move on to whatever's next in your day, let's do it thoughtfully. 1 knee at a time, bring legs into chest or belly. And then roll over onto your side. Use your top arm to help yourself come back up to a seat. Slow you go. Find a seat that feels comfortable. Let's take the hands to Anjali Mudra, or prayer at the heart. Really an offering of gratitude for this practice. It's an offering of gratitude from me to you. Thank you for showing up here. I'll chant the sound of Om 1 time to close our practice. You're welcome to listen or join in. Big inhale. Om. You can bow your mind into your own heart, into your own breath. Thank yourself for being here. Wishing you a peaceful rest of your day. Be sure to follow me online. I'm on Instagram at Mindfulish. My website is mindfulish.org. I have trainings and retreats and workshops and some live classes coming up too. I would love to see you in person or here or on the screen, anywhere. Until next time.